The morning is the most wonderful time for me.
Less resistance in the morning than later because you have less things show up that you can worry about.
I love to meditate.
Yeah.
I read. I listen to you. It's magical. I love it. I want to talk about focus. I want to talk about...
we want to talk about fused focus.
About conditional and unconditional focus.
We want to talk about unconditional focus.
Got it. That's great. So what I was doing, and I'm so glad, what I was doing is in any moment, I was just trying to think of what's great going on. If I was washing my hands, I was thinking, oh, isn't it nice that there's, this fresh water I can use or this nice smelling soap. So I was looking at the condition and what I could appreciate out of it. And I was getting something out of that.
Sure.
But then I heard you talk about unconditional focus and focusing on feelings so that way you don't have to have the conditions. So then I thought, oh no, I must be doing something wrong.
Well, let's not get all wadded up in this. Step back just a little bit. And if we're first meeting you and you don't have a basis of understanding about the laws of the universe yet, and you're not really aware of your inner being and what your emotions tell you, and so you're sort of new to this idea of deliberate creation, and you have been sort of raised by the wolves of your society. We just like saying raised by wolves, but where you're used to pushing against things and all of that sort of thing. Then in our beginning conversations, we would talk to you about the value of positive thought and the value of looking for things to appreciate. And we would show you how much better you might feel. But in many ways, our friend who was talking about triage, in many ways, there's a little bit in those early stages not getting a lot done other than showing you that you can feel better having this thought than this thought, and better having this thought than this thought, and better having this thought than this thought. But once you accept the bigness of who you are, and once you understand that you are an extension of source energy, and once you understand that you are on the leading edge and that you are a prime participant in the creating of worlds, and once you begin to feel the bigness of all of this energy, then we want to talk about the tapping into the energy before you find the subject of attention. And when you tap into that kind of energy, you're usually not so interested in thinking about washing your hands. There are bigger thoughts, and that's what you're beginning to feel. You're starting to feel the value in the energy itself, and then letting the inspiration to the subjects at hand being inspired to you. So it's the difference between thinking a thought so that I can be in the vortex. Over time, this is the evolution of our conversation with so many of you. We said, you create your own reality, and you said, yeah. And then you said, oh good, and then you said, yikes, I create my own reality. And then we said, let's talk about deliberate creation, and you said, yes, I want to be in control, deliberate creation. And then you got so involved in your deliberate creation that you stopped having fun with it. So then we said, yes, you are a deliberate creator and the laws of the universe abound and law of attraction is what manages it all. But rather than thinking so hard about being a deliberate creator, understand that the contrast has caused you to create a magnificent vibrational reality, and now your work is to let yourself receive what you've created. So we put the emphasis upon being in a vibrational place where you could receive or allow. The art of allowing, we called that phase of the evolution. And then we began wanting to emphasize with you, because most of you didn't see it, that you're creating a vibrational world that for the most part you are holding yourself apart from. It's a vibrational world that exists, but you can't see it or hear it or smell it or taste it or touch it. And so you're taking no pleasure from it. But if you could accept its existence and notice the subtle evolution of it, then you could enjoy the evolution of your creations, just like the farmer takes pleasure in knowing the seed in the ground is germinating and gestating and is in the process of becoming, and doesn't need to see the stalk of corn or the ear of corn before he takes pleasure in the field that he has planted. So you're coming along with us. In other words, you're understanding more and more of these things, and not hard to understand things. And then we began saying to you That there's this magnificent creation that you have created and that in fact is you, because you are the creator, creating the creation, which is you. And we began saying things like, but you got to get in the vortex. You got to be a vibrational match to what you want in order for it to manifest in a way that you can feel satisfaction. And then we began explaining to you that satisfaction comes only from having a desire and moving in the direction of the desire, not getting all the way to it, because you never do. You can't get all the way to your desire, because as soon as you start approaching it, it becomes more and more and more and more and more. So your desire keeps getting out ahead of you. It's out ahead of you. It's out ahead of you. It will always be vibrationally out ahead of you. So then we began talking about getting into the vortex, and this is when you began to really start to understand. When we began explaining to you that what's in your vibrational reality is speaking to you. It has already become the thing that you ask it to be, and it will tell you where it is and how to find it if you are paying attention. In other words, it's the consciousness of your inner being. It's the consciousness of what you want to call God. It's the consciousness of the becoming that you've set into motion. And that's the main event that you're reaching for. It's not the specifics of this creation or that one. It's the art of creating. It's the understanding that all things are possible. It's the becoming the creation because you know you're doing the creating. There's a difference between the joys in the journey and what we're saying to you here. It's that hands-on, moment by moment recognition of the improvement in your vibration, which is allowing the revelation that has been revealed to you at all times to be realized by you. So it's the realization in the moment, which is what we were reaching for earlier in the conversation today when someone was talking about manifestation or manifesting. Realization of who I am. Realization of not just the potential, but the already realized realization of who I am. So if we can talk you into caring about one thing and one thing only, in your present tense, which is right now where all of your power is, if you can sync up with your awareness of your physical world through the perspective of your source, you've blended the whole of yourself. And now, maybe for the first time, you are the creator that you were born to be. Because not one of you said, I'm going into a body, but I'm going to ignore who I really am. I'm going into a physical body to test myself and to prove worthiness, which is the way most religions in a bogus way tell the story, you see. The things that you think you're dreaming about creating, you are, and they matter. But you've got bigger dreams than you know, the ingredients of which are in your vibrational reality. And there are generations that preceded you, many generations before you, that were all dreaming about you even before you were born and calling you to this powerful now. There is an energy of creation that this leading edge is manifesting, that is supported by such love and knowledge and desire and dreaming. And you all get to be the benefactors of all of that momentum at the same time that you're adding momentum to what will come next. In other words, this is this perpetual eternity of which we are all a part. And until you find your right place within it, you don't have as much fun as you're supposed to be having. Are you sort of kind of getting what we're talking about? So when you find things that are interesting to you to focus upon, but you know the big picture and you understand the blessed worthiness of who you are, and you let yourself be part of that whole with no need to carve out your place for reference or your place for worthiness or your place for attention, but instead you just accept that you are part of this magnificent whole and you let yourself play whatever part is appealing to you in this moment. Can you feel how the past, present, and future are all happening right now? So when we ask of you to get out ahead of it, we're asking you to first of all know that this cycle always has and always will exist, and to accept that there is so much more out there that has already been worked over. The power is already in it. We're asking you to stop the struggle and stop the striving and stop the trying to prove your worthiness and accept that you cannot get away from it. And in the moment that you accept that you are worthy, and then you take your exposure to life and you let the pieces that excited you be the things that you focus upon, so that the energy that creates world is flowing through you to the specifics of what you have carved out. Oh, that's when life starts feeling to you like you meant for it to feel, you see? And it doesn't matter whether you're focused upon washing your hands or whether you're focused upon building an empire. It just doesn't matter, because source energy is focused upon all of that. You just have to find, thought by thought, which thoughts feel good to you, and not try so hard to make something happen with your thoughts. And that's the point that you help us talk about. Because we say to you, you are deliberate creators. And then we say to you, yes, you are deliberate creators. But more than that, you are allowers. And you say, allowers of what? And we say, allowers of what was set into motion that you set into motion. And you say, wait a minute, I thought you said I'm the creator of my own reality. And we say, we did say that you're the creator of your own reality, but that you've been creating it for a really long time. And you were creating it when things weren't going so well. And your vibrational reality or vortex has been amassing all the ingredients. And now what you are as a creator of your own reality is a willing participant in witnessing the coming together of a piece of something with a piece of something. We're not ever going to get it done. It's always going to be about what you're allowing to come about now. And can you feel how, if you're in on watching it come about, can you now feel how much fun that was for Esther to sit in that Delta first class lounge, sitting there sort of playing her word game and sort of looking around her and sort of not feeling too inspired about anything, and then feeling an impulse to go somewhere? That's so cool. To want to go somewhere and not know why, but to know that you got to go because it feels so good, and going out that door feels better than sitting in this chair, so you're willing to go with no promise of what's there. We weren't dangling anything. We didn't dangle a carrot. Esther doesn't need any more carrots. She's willing to just follow the impulse, follow the impulse, follow the impulse. And that really is what this conversation has been leading to all day today, is that you're creating at many levels of your being. And life can be pleasurable for you no matter what level of consciousness that you're focused upon. But nothing is going to give you satisfaction, anything close to these understandings. I need to find the easiest way in. You know how when you prepay your parking, you're out ahead of it? You know how when you reserve for a seat in a room like this, you're out ahead of it? So those are physical ways of getting out ahead of it. And you know from life experience that when you get out ahead of it in those ways, it's a more pleasurable experience, isn't it? Rather than trying to talk your way onto an airplane to which you don't have a ticket, or park in a parking place where there isn't a place for you, driving around the parking garage, around and around and around and around, and there's no place for you. You've shown yourself that getting out ahead of it does bring some ease to your life experience. But you have not yet discovered the thrill and the power of getting out ahead of something energetically by dreaming it as specifically, and this is the answer to your question, finally, by dreaming it as specifically as you can dream it and still let it take your breath away. Because your tendency, dear hearts, is to make it specific and then it starts to suck right away. Dreaming it doesn't feel practical enough. It doesn't feel meaty enough. It doesn't feel like it's got enough power in it. So you want to jump into action right now. You've made this big batch of biscuits with the rising yeast, and it has risen into this big ball, and you punch it down, and then you make the little biscuits out of it, and then they're in the process of rising, but you're too impatient, so you just put them in the oven and you cook them in the squat. And that's what you do when you want to jump into action before you've allowed yourself to feel the fullness and the bigness of it. Do you see what we're getting at?
Thank you. That was really, really good.
Satisfying?
Yes, very.
Really good.